So we're still currently on lap 13 here. Yes, still on lap 13, excuse me. So currently watching Craig come through the Harry Lyndike box, named after the Indy 500 winner and driver who also to this day still holds the lap record around Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And his speed was at an average of 236 miles per hour. It was the year where they had just resurfaced the circuit as well. So there was plenty of grip available for the drivers, which did help very nicely indeed when it came to qualifying. So that was indeed that. Still currently looking at Craig Gilbert-Wood at the moment in the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo. Coming down the back straight now towards the Hans Erst box. Currently 15 laps into the race. It's still Jack Alexander, James Lacey, Eddie Warden, Marco Badowski, Sam Kruger, Simon Tribeck, Craig Gilbert-Wood, Chris Brook, Xavier Eugenie, and Harry Hottie. Still on board with Gilbert-Wood at the moment. We'll try and... Meanwhile, we are now looking at Jack Alexander, the race leader. He's on the back of one of the Ferraris. That's car number 71, which is the car being driven by MO Plates. Puts a lap on MO, although it is worth noting that MO has made both of his mandatory pit stop. So far, still plenty of time left in the window, but it is, well, I'd say plenty of time left, 21 minutes left to the end of the pit window. So there's plenty of time for everyone to make their final pit stops as needed. So MO 13th, just behind Nathaniel Shirley in the 25 BMW. And Nathaniel Shirley has also made both of his pit stops. That's why there's a little green rectangle next to where the race number is. If you see a 2 or a 1 there, that indicates how many pit stops that driver has left to go. So, currently on board with Sam Kruger in the 360 Mercedes. He's got Simon Tribeck just behind him there in the Bentley. Been a good race for Bentley so far. Simon is in 6th place, and the 45 car of Marco Badowski is just one place ahead in fourth. Although there is about 9 seconds or so. Marco's just crossed the start finish line, so we'll just wait a second for Sam to do the same. It's still about 9.1 seconds between Kruger and Badowski. Looking at Damien Vilk, who is right on the back of another one of the Lamborghinis. That being the car of Eddie Warden. Eddie, I suspect, just lapped Damien because Damien is in 14th place. Meanwhile, Damien Lowe has just come into the pits in the 515 Mercedes. Dropped a couple of positions so far. The sun is beginning to set here at Zandvoort. 22 Celsius air temperature, 22 Celsius track temperature. Marco Badowski just going past on the inside there of Damien Vilk. Not for position. Marco currently trying to chase down Eddie Warden at the moment. You can see the black and red Lamborghini there of Eddie. Marco's just behind him in the blue and yellow Bentley. Just in front of Eddie, excuse me. You can just see James Lacey there in car number 997. Meanwhile, Jack Alexander has come into the pits from the lead of the race. And this little group of cars here are just going to go past right now. They all gain a position briefly, whilst the 21 Porsche has its first mandatory pit stop. The good news for James Lacey, who is aiming to make up some more ground in the drivers' standings. Of course, 3 results have already been scratched off for a number of the drivers, so it's still Jack Alexander leading or rather have a line through them, which indicates that they are, which indicates, I think, that they have been dropped, those particular scores. So James Lacey, his P3 in the third round and his P2 in the second round are the results that are counting towards his championship charge. I was a little bit confused briefly for a moment because of the results, but in the most important standings, the constructors, it is still Nissan showing as being in the lead just ahead of Porsche, but there's not an awful lot in it. And at this rate, this could be a very, very advantageous result indeed for Porsche. Well, Sam Kruger still has Simon Trebek right behind him. This is a battle for third place because Marco Badowski is currently in the pits at the moment in the 45 Bentley. Bentley currently down the table somewhat in 10th place at the moment, although it is incredibly tight in the midfield between the likes of McLaren, Audi, Lexus, BMW, Lamborghini, Mercedes. And Bentley and Ferrari are still within touching distance, it's fair to say, of that group of manufacturers. So everything's still very, very much to play for here. With the way things are going at the moment, Porsche might well be able to take the lead of the Manufacturers' Championship here tonight. Currently looks certainly as if it's going to be a very good showing for them indeed. We've got Xavier Eugeni in the lone Jaguar, currently in 13th place at the moment, doing a fantastic job indeed as we speak. And meanwhile, that's Simon Tribeck pulling into the pit in the red, white and blue Bentley. He's already dropped back a couple of positions, as has Eddie Warden in the Lamborghini. So it's now James Lacey leading from Sam Kruger, with Kruger has Jack Alexander approaching very rapidly indeed, being battled for second place. Jack making use of the Porsche, getting a very, very good BOP indeed in the version 1.8 update. Porsche really has been the car to have in recent races. Kruger doing a very good job indeed in the Mercedes. See so far that Nathaniel Shirley, Emo Plate, Sergio Lemke, Berno Reitzberg, Dan Birch, Damien Lowe, Kevin Shepherd, Mad Al, and Todor Kostadinov in the top 23, all having made their pit stops. Both of them. Meanwhile, having made just one pit stop and it is a very warm welcome back to the series as well for Matt Scherblum. Matt, having had an operation recently, has had to unfortunately sit out of a few rounds, but is back in form and back in shape for this round, and hopefully he'll be able to see out the rest of the season. But either way, it's fantastic to see him back in the field. Bit of a drag race coming off of the pit lane there between James Lacey and Xavier Eugenie Lacey. No wonder why he was pretty desperate to get a bit of a move on coming out of the pits behind Xavier Eugenie's Jaguars, because he knew Marco Badowski was right there with him. And that is going to see him back up the field indeed. A little bit further down the field, we've got Mad Al here in 20th. There's a McLaren there with him. That's not, or it might be Chris Brooks' car, which case Brooke is a lap ahead. We're currently looking from a third-person view at the moment. Sun goes down, and that indeed is Badowski and Eddie Warden right there with James Lacey. It's the battle for second place at the moment here at Zandvoort. Both coming down towards the Hans Ernst box once more. Very, very hard stop indeed there. Heading into Kumo now. Porsche seemingly able to switch on its tyres very, very well indeed. Also, quite the breeze as well. 15 kilometres an hour. It's almost 10 miles an hour. So it is a little bit blowy here as well at Zandvoort this evening. Coming out of Tarzan box up towards the Hugenholz spot, named after John Hugenholz, the designer of some very well-known racing circuits indeed, including Suzuka and Jarama. Jarama being just on the outskirts of Madrid. That's, metaphorically speaking, a stone's throw away from Madrid airport as well. Now, in academia, we have what's known as a call for papers, which is where an academic or an editor of an academic journal, someone who's organising a conference perhaps, will call for papers to be submitted for the conference in question. But we've had our own little twist on the call for papers, in that we have what is a call for drivers being put forward by a number of teams, including Corsa and Mercedes, calling for drivers for the remainder of the Constructors' Championship season. All the details are on the server. The Audi and Bentley also having put in calls for drivers as well. All information can be found on the RWB International Discord server. Well worth joining indeed, if I may say so myself. So now we've had the advertisement for from more than just one or two team principals out of the way. Craig Gilbert-Wood been shown as having been in the pits. So far, is that me, or is it starting to rain slightly? Indeed, it is starting to rain. Track is now showing as greasy. Which is always quite interesting for the drivers. Indeed, that 15 km/h kilometers an hour wind may have played a bit of a factor in that, as Chris Brook and Damien Vilk both come into the pits for their final stops. We're currently on board with Nathaniel Shirley now. We can actually have a little look, see not much corrective lock at all being put in there. There's Mercedes running a little bit wide in the background. Meanwhile, Marco Badowski and Eddie Warden have both come in for their final pit stops as well. It seems to me as if the track conditions might be improving in the next few minutes. So the teams and drivers most certainly are hoping this is just a short, sharp shower. Careful how you say that's one. As James Lacey comes up towards the new section of track here. There's Xavier Eugene. He's just gone through Chevelat, coming up to fairly quick right-hander. Take quite a bit of curb, as I found out earlier this evening. Through the double switchback hairpin section, where it's actually quite difficult to find a braking marker. It's nowhere particularly obvious to nothing particularly obvious that stands out to use as a braking marker. For example, we're coming up to the Hans-Ernst box now. Use some of those white lines painted going across the circuit as kind of a braking marker of sorts, but you can't really do that with those two hairpins in the infield there. Coming through the final turn now, heading down the pit straight towards Tarzan, comes Xavier Eugenie in the big Jaguar XKR. The Jaguar able to pull away a little bit there on the pit straight from the Lamborghini. It's the bit of circuit that suits the Jaguar best, i.e. one with not too many corners in it. Simon Trebek in the pits right now, as is Sam Kruger for their final pit stops. Nicholas Dahlgren, I think, yet to pit so far, currently in 15th place. And still Xavier Eugenie holding on in the big Jaguar. First appeared in the what was still the Blancpain GT series way back in around 2012, 2013 time. It's actually the one of the oldest cars in the whole game in terms of how long it's been. It was introduced, and Emil Fry Racing over the years kept tinkering, kept developing it, and ended up getting podiums and wins towards the end of its time. James Lacey, meanwhile, is in the pits at the moment. We'll keep you updated with the battle on track there, as Damien Lowe in the Mercedes, who I think we saw off the track just a moment ago earlier on, he's currently in 19th at the moment. Meanwhile, back to Jack Alexander, closing in on one of the Bentleys. I think that might be Simon Trebek's car. Bentley just letting the race leader through there. Indeed, that is Trebek, so I can see MO Plate in the foreground, and that's Nathaniel Shirley a little bit further up the road as well. In fact, I don't think that is Plate's car, excuse me. That's Lamborghini, just getting out of the way there. That's Shirley I can see up in front, and that might be Gomez as well. In fact, I can see Gomez's car there. In fact, Shirley's a bit further up the road, excuse me, so in hindsight, that might actually be Shepherd. Hopefully we can have a look at the number on that car in a sec. Meanwhile, back to the battle for 13th place. It's Xavier Eugeni, who is still holding on big time as they come onto the back straight now to head into the Hans Ernst box. Trebek showing as in the pits. I'm wondering if he's had a technical issue. Most unfortunate. If so, Matt Sherblum's in the pits as well. We've got Michael Stolgren yet to make his final pit stop. I was saying about the standings earlier on. The highest placed Nissan is currently Reitzma down in 16th place. So this is actually going to be a phenomenal day's racing and a phenomenal result for Porsche. At this race, Porsche should be able to leapfrog Nissan quite comfortably indeed. Still, Damien tries to find a way past Xavier Eugeni in the big Jaguar. See, actually, the Nissan, I think that may have been Reitzma there just in the background. We'll have a look. Yeah, it is definitely a Nissan. So there's about 6 seconds or so between Vilk and Sergio Lemke in 14th place. That Nissan, I don't think is actually full position. That might be another driver. I can see definitely won't be Birch. Maybe Atkinson. I think that could be by power of deduction. I'm just looking at where the gaps are at the moment between the likes of. It's currently showing as there being 82 seconds between Trebek and Lowe. Lowe's and Shepherd are now gone ahead of Trebek, who I don't know if he is still in the race or not. We'll find out quite soon, hopefully. Dahlgren needing to come in ASAP for his pit stop. Being the only driver yet to have made both pit stops. There's about 40-something seconds left, 45 seconds now on the pit window. Yeah, track conditions have mercifully dried out after the rain shower. It's showing as being 10 p.m. local time. You can see the headlights and the reflection of the headlights on the track surface. The Genie turning off what was the, you could, I guess, quote unquote, call the traditional Grand Prix circuit onto the newer section. It heading through 2 double hairpins. Now onto the run towards the Hans Ernst spot. See on the in the background briefly the little cut through from when they first redeveloped circuits back in the late 1980s to allow racing to continue here. Of course, the old Zandvoort, before they shortened it, was a phenomenally fast track and one of the finest circuits as it went uphill and down dale through the dunes. Zandvoort being a resort on the North Sea coast. The Damien Lowe there in the Mercedes. Got one of the Audis just in front of him. That's Dahlgren, so that is for position. Got Kevin Shepherd just behind him there as well. Eddie Warden in the Lamborghini is now coming through beautiful section of sweepers. Meanwhile, Harry Hottie coming out to the Ari Lyndike box onto the pitch straight. Once more, pit window has closed. Now, I'm pleased to report that Dahlgren has actually made his final stop. James Lacey currently in third place and still hanging on to the coattails of Marco Badowski. Porsche being car number 997, the Bentley being car number 45. Jack Alexander, as usual, has checked off into the distance. Checked out, excuse me. There's Lacey making a little bit of a mistake there, running a little bit wide. Going to allow Eddie Warden to close the gap to him somewhat. Also dropped a little bit further back from Marco Badowski. It's currently 1 second so far. The gap's now gone out to 1.7 seconds. So that hasn't... It's cost Lacey a little bit of time there, but not as much as perhaps I thought it might have. We also saw one driver being given the meatball flag, the black flag with the orange circle in the middle, which means you have a mechanical issue of some kind for your car. Could you please come into the pits, or preferably next time round, and get it looked at by your mechanics, because it's starting to get a bit dangerous now. See, there's Damien Vilk there in the Lamborghini. The battle between Vilk and Eugenie for 12th is now in the middle of the battle for second between Marco Badowski and James Lacey. Vilk maybe having a look there at Eugenie, not quite close enough to be able to get the job done. Lacey going to get past Vilk on the way into the Hans Ernst box now. Not quite able to get past Eugenie. I think Lacey's going to probably get past Eugenie. In fact, Eugenie checks up a little bit there to let the Porsche go through. On the run up to Kumo box, coming up to the Ari Lyndike box now is this battle. Quite a challenging corner. Having to feather the throttle a little bit. Oh, maybe that's just me because I'm not a terribly good driver. But of course, with the banking now, which they've put into the corner for Formula One, it's easy flats in a GT3 car. Of course, very fitting as well that it's named after Lyndike, the lap record holder at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, a record he's held for a quarter of a century already. And it's only going to grow further. Here's Eddie Warden now on the back of Damien Vilk. Warden just getting past there to put Damien a lap down. Eddie maybe going to have a look Is he? Yes, he is. Javier letting Eddie through there. And hoping to get a little bit of a slipstream off the big Lamborghini. Heading into the hands-on spot once more. Got 2.25 minutes, just under 2.25 minutes left. So I think we've got time for maybe 2 more laps, judging by where Jack Alexander is and how much of a lead he has on Marco Badowski in second place. 2 seconds. Yep, so we should have another 2 laps of racing here at Zandvoort this evening. Coming into Hugenholz now. Good exit out of there. About 3.5 seconds between Warden and James Lacey in the Porsche, just ahead of him. So I don't think he's going to be able to catch up. The gaps have stabilised somewhat between Badowski, Lacey and Warden. Kruger being a little bit further behind. Daniel Shirley doing well as well in the BMW, car number 25. For good measure. Now, just under 4 tenths between Shirley in 6th and Emo Plate in 7th. We're looking at Damien Lowe, who's got Kevin Shepherd right under his rear wing. Lowe in the Mercedes, Shepherd in the BMW. We've got Craig Gilbert Wood, I believe that is, right behind them in the Lamborghini. Lowe just pulling away a little bit there from Shepherd's. Gap having gone out to 0.2 of a second. Speaking of Shirley, he's got Emo Plate right under his rear wing. Should have another lap here for these two. Keep an eye on this. You can really see the headlights going now. The track temperature's dropped down to just 20 degrees here. And Shirley hard on the brakes, having to take a very defensive line there at Tarzanbot to try and keep Emo Plate behind him. Coming up towards Hugenholz now. And keeping it very tight on the inside, heading towards the Rob Slotemacher box now. Not what you call an overtaking opportunity, nor is the next corner they're coming up to, Schevelach, which is a very fast right-hander. Going to make an overtake there. You're going to need a very, very compliant and willing person to be racing with. Meanwhile, Jack Alexander has won the race for Porsche this evening. Already crossed the start-finish line. Chris Brook has just come home in 11th. Marco Badowski in 2nd place, 23 seconds in arrears, with James Lacey 3rd, Eddie Warden 4th. Sam Kruger is set to come home in 5th place. Meanwhile, Shirley again taking a defensive line into the hands-on box here for the final time. Emo Plate running out of corners to try and catch this battle. Meanwhile, really raging away here between Craig Gilbert Wood, Kevin Shepherd and Simon Tribeck. The battle really being in the background there. Shepherd's getting on the grass, heading down the back straight. Cars come across the start-finish line, left, right and centre. We'll keep an eye out on that battle for you between Shepherd and Tribeck, but I think Tribeck has got the position. Gilbert Wood really having to push quite hard to get past there. This is indeed Nathaniel Shirley holding on to 6th place from Emo Plate. Harry Hottie, good result for him in the Lamborghini in 8th place. Hugo Gomez coming home in 9th, which no doubt will please his fan club. Then we have Craig Gilbert-Wood in 10th, Chris Brook 11th, Damien Vilk 12th, Berno Wrightsman 13th, Dan Birch 14th, Xavier Eugenie 15th, Sergio Lemke 16th, Maddow 17th, Magnus Dahlgren 18th, Damien Lowe in 19th, and Simon Trebek rounding out the top 20 this evening. So as for the constructors' standings, Porsche, I'm fairly sure, is set to overtake Nissan tonight. And you also have a good showing from Lamborghini as well. Very good evening indeed. BMW still going to be there or thereabouts. Less good for Lexus after Crawford Brown's unfortunate DNF this evening due to technical issues. Toby Atkinson there in 24th, Dan Barnett 23rd, Todor Kostadinov in 22nd, and Kevin Shepherd only a 10th behind Simon Trebek in the battle to round out the top 20. But back to winning ways for Jack Alexander this evening. Another fantastic result indeed. Coming up on RWB International in the coming week, we've got Wreckfest Wednesday tomorrow night, which is going to be good for a laugh. Indeed, then we have the Coalition Cup between... And, thanks to RWB, TSR, RRL, and SCB Sim Racing on Thursday night, just before the Pro Rookie Weekly Ranked race on ACC. Then on Friday, we've got a brand new series, the Challengers event, as we have a series of new cars introduced into ACC. New Cup cars, in fact, the BMW 2 Series Cup car. We've got the new 992 Porsche Cup car. We've got the Ferrari Trophy car as well. Going to be good fun indeed. And then we have on Saturday night the Formula RWB series in the little Formula 4 Tartus on Race Room Racing Experience. And coming up as well, in just 10 days' time, we have the 12 hours of Barcelona, the second round of the Endurance Championship, held at the Circuit de Catalunya in Montmeló, just on the outskirts of Barcelona. And that is what's coming up on RWB International over the next week to 10 days or so. And just filling a little bit here because of my computer deciding to do what my computer does best. And so that was indeed that. My thanks to Nate Newcomer for helping with the stream this evening. And that was round 6 of the RWB International Constructors Championship. And as always, it's bye for now.